Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how I made this classy and elegant Bubu kaftan with ruffles. Now, if this is something you're interested in, kindly stick around and watch this video till the very end. Let's get right into it. So for this tutorial, we'll be needing our sewing tools. I have my ruler, my scissors, and my measuring tape and chalk. So the next thing I did was to fold my fabric into 4. Now this bubu is going to be a cut together bubu, meaning it's not going to have any shoulder joining. So I'm not going to be joining the shoulders or leaving any allowance for the shoulders. I have about 2 yards of fabric there, and I folded my fabric into 4. So the next thing I'm going to do is to move over to get my neckline. So I'm going to cut the front and the back neckline together, but we're going to start with the back neck depth. So I'm doing 1.5 inches for the back neck depth, and then for the front neck I'm going to be doing 10 inches. If you want yours a little higher, you can do about 7 inches, but I'm doing 10 inches for my neck depth because I want it very deep. Okay, and then for the neck width of both the front and back, I'm going to do 3.5 inches. And then I'm going to connect the points and then cut out just the back neckline only. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get my shoulder measurements. My shoulder is 16 inches and I'm going to divide that by 2, and I have 8 inches for my shoulders. So I'm just going to put down 8 inches on the shoulder line, and then I'm going to get my sleeve length. Now the sleeve I'm working with is a little above the wrist, which is 23 inches, and I'm going to put that down from the shoulder line. And from the sleeve length, which is 23 inches, I'm going to come down by 12 inches. Now that is how wide I want my sleeve to be. You can adjust it to your preference, but I want my sleeve a little wide. So I'm going to come down by 12 inches and I'm going to connect that point with a straight line. So you can see what it's looking like. Let me push this a bit. So yeah, this is it. So I just brought this down, and the next thing I'm going to do will be to take the length. So the full length of this bubu is 62 inches, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 32 inches for the upper part of this bubu and 30 inches for the ruffle area. So I'm just marking 32 inches for the length, and then I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side and connect everything together. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get my vertical measurements. Now in this case, I'm just going to put down my waistline, which is 17 inches. I'm going to repeat that on the other side, and I'm going to connect with a straight line. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get my round measurements. Now for this bubu, I'm working with the largest part of my body, which is my hip. My hip is 44 inches, and if you divide that by 4, it will give us 11 inches, and I'm going to add about 4 inches. So for the circumference of this bubu, I'm using about 11 inches plus 4 inches, that's 15 inches. So I'm just going to put that down. Okay, you can do, if you want your bubu to not be this big, you can add 2 to 3 inches, but I'm doing 4 inches because I want my bubu wider. So I'll put down the same 15 inches on the hemline, and I'm going to connect with a straight line. And then from the shoulder, I'm going to come down by 12 inches, the same thing I have for my sleeve opening. So I'll come down by 12 inches and I'm going to connect that with a straight line. And then from that point, I'm going to connect with a curve to the waistline. And after doing that, I'm going to cut out all my pieces. So after cutting out all my pieces, the next thing I'm going to do is to open up my Boubou and cut out the front neckline. So at this point, you can see how our Boubou is looking. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut out an interfacing for the neckline. So I used a hemming gum to hem the sleeves of the Boubou to give it a very clean finish. So I'm going to flip it over with 1/2 inch and press it closed. So you can see how clean the finishing is looking. The next thing I'm going to do is to attach my interfacing. Now I'm going to stitch my interfacing to my neckline, and I'm going to give this a very good notch, and I'm going to press it close with the hemming gum. So you can see how clean our neckline is looking. Make sure you give this a very good press, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is to close the side seams of our Boubou, and I'm going to do this with 1/2 inch. So I've done that, and I also used my overlocking machine to overlock the side seams, and then I made some adjustments to the sleeve area. I opened up the 1-inch seam allowance for the sleeve, and then I serged it all the way down, and I closed up the sleeve to give it this very seamless finish. And after I'm doing that, I'm going to press it down with my iron. So now for the final step, which is attaching the ruffle to the Boubou. Remember, the total length of this Boubou is 62 inches. The first layer, which is the main body of the Boubou, measures 32 inches. So the length that we're working with here is 30 inches. And the ruffle, which makes up for the second layer, will also be 30 inches long. Now to determine the width of the ruffle, simply measure the circumference of the first layer and multiply that number by 2. And once that's done, I'll gather the ruffle neatly and attach it to the Boubou. So this is the fabric I'm using. I think it's about 2 yards as well. This is Adire silk, and I'm just going to cut out my ruffle and attach it to the Boubou and show you guys what it looks like. And that's it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed watching, because just look at how classy this dress turned out. Thank you so much for staying with me till the very end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss my next tutorial. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.